Welcome to the John Kentera Show, folks. And boy, we got a big show for you coming off of that great home run by Jackson Merrill to win it on Sunday for the San Diego Padres. They get a split of the four-game series against the New York Mets, exactly what the doctor ordered. With the way the Dodgers and Diamondbacks are playing right now, the Padres, it was a must-needed victory, and that's going to make for a very, very happy flight to St. Louis to get ready to embark on a 7-game road trip. First of 4 coming up on Monday night at Busch Stadium against the St. Louis Cardinals. Hey, before we get rolling here, man, I'm fired up, man. Padre baseball, they got the job done. Their 8th walk-off of the year. Jackson Merrill's 2nd walk-off homer of the year. Padres, it looked like they were down and out, but they came back and they eke out a 3-2 victory. Hey, you'll take it any way you can get it. But if you're tuning in for the very, very first time, thank you very much. And if you would, we'd really appreciate, since we're on YouTube, we'd very much appreciate if you would hit subscribe and subscribe to our program that way, and make sure your notifications are turned on so you won't miss any of our episodes on the John Kentera Show, the best of San Diego sports talk. And you can follow me on Facebook at John Kentera, and of course on X at Coach Kentera 44. Well, I got to be honest with you. On Sunday, things did not look good. They did not look good at all. Jose Quintana, for the 2nd time this year, went out there and really did a number on the San Diego Padre offense, but they were finally able to get him out of there, and they went to work on the bullpen. Jerks and Profar coming up with a massive 2-run homer to tie the ball game, and then Jackson Merrill in the bottom of the 9th with 1 out off of one of the premier closers in all of baseball, Edwin Diaz, hit it out way into the right field seats. And the Padre fans, they drive home on the freeway with smiles on their face. And really, it was starting to look like a very, very tough weekend for the Padres. But hey, you take games any way you can win them. In 162, it looked like the Padres, quite frankly, were down and out. It looked like they were kind of licking their wounds a little bit, but they kept battling. And they had some bad breaks in this ball game, some very bad breaks. Couple of balls that were very close to being fair balls by David Peralta were ruled foul. And then Jackson Merrill overslid second base with Manny Machado on third for the 3rd out to end the 7th inning. That didn't help. But Merrill comes back and redeems himself, and the kid just had an incredible rookie year. You know, you take a look at Mike Shildt, and I think a lot of people thought maybe Mike Shildt pulled Martin Perez a little bit early. But you know what? He's managing not only the Padres right now, he's managing his bullpen, and he's managing the scoreboard. And I think a lot of managers may have let Martin Perez try to get out of it there in the 4th inning. He ended up going 3 2/3, gave up 4 hits and only 1 run, but he gave up that home run to J.D. Martinez, and then he walked 3 batters in a row, and Mike Shildt had seen enough. And he went to the bullpen and brought in Brian Hoeing, who did a very nice job. And then in the 3rd, couple of hits and 4 strikeouts. But I think Mike Shildt, more than anything else, looked at the scoreboard and said, hey, man, Arizona won today. We can't let this game get out of hand. Dodgers ended up winning Sunday. They took 2 out of 3 from Tampa Bay. Arizona, they swept the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. I mean, they're hotter than a baker's apron right now. But I think we got to give Mike Shildt a little credit for going to the bullpen, where a lot of managers may have allowed a veteran pitcher like Martin Perez to try to get through that inning. But he went to the bullpen, and it paid off. Bullpen was fantastic. I mean, you take a look on Sunday, the bullpen. Brian Hoeing, as I mentioned, inning the 3rd, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, struck out Lindor in the 4th inning with the bases loaded. Jeremiah Estrada, 1 inning, a couple of punch-outs. Jason Adam gave up a home run in the ball game. That didn't help matters. It put him down 2-0 at the time. But at the end of the day, Tanner Scott came in, looked good, and Robert Suarez looked fantastic in the 9th. Suarez gets another win. So a big win on Sunday, a much-needed win for the Padres, and really a back-breaking loss for the Mets who are trying to stay in the wild card. Then you go back to Saturday night, and it was a frustrating ball game. It really was because Michael King, I thought, actually threw the ball pretty well. He ended up going 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, 5 runs, but only 1 of them earned. I mean, you talk about a guy that had bad luck. I mean, Pete Alonso in the first inning hits a little worm burner up the third baseline. It looks like Manny's going to field it, but it hits the third base, ricochets out by shortstop for an RBI double. And then the bases get loaded, and King gives up a grand slam to Francisco Lindor. And they could never overcome that. Lindor ended up having another home run later in the ballgame. But that was a tough one. The Padres actually had hit the Mets 6-5 on Saturday night, but they were only 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. The Mets were 2 for 4. And, a good effort by the starting staff of the Mets. Mets have some pretty good starting pitching. Saturday night, left-hander David Peterson went out there, and I thought was fantastic. He wasn't overpowering, a lot like Quintana. I mean, Quintana didn't strike anybody out on Sunday, and Peterson, he went out there on Saturday night and only struck out 2, and he went 7 1/3, 5 hits and 1 earned run, couple of walks. And then they turned it over the bullpen. They did a good job. At the end of the day, Padres just couldn't get it done on Saturday night and got beat 7-1. You go back to Friday night, Padres put whitewashing on the Mets. They won 7-0. They out hit them 16-2 that night. And we're going to talk more about this guy, but Joe Musgrove, thank God he's healthy. Thank goodness Joe's healthy right now. And I'm going to share his numbers here overall in his 3 starts since coming back from the IL here in a few minutes. But Friday night, 7 innings, 75 pitches. 7 innings, 75 pitches. And you talk about getting the job done and working ahead. I mean, he gave up 1 hit, no walks, 9 strikeouts, and had that great play where he came off the mound over by first base, was able to scoop the ball up with his glove and toss it to Cronenworth for the out. Guy's an athlete. Heck, he was an athlete when he was out there at Grossmont High School. Swung the bat well, always fielded well. Joe's having a lot of fun. Boy, he coming back pitching great. Pitching really, really well right now. And then you take a look on Friday night, Kyle Higashioka. This guy was kind of a throw-in. Padres needed a backup catcher, and they get Kyle Higashioka. And he done a hell of a job. I mean, 2 for 4 on Friday night, a 2-run homer, RBI double. I mean, the guy has done one heck of a job and done a very nice job of handling the pitching. And Luis Camposano, who we've talked about, Luis is real, man, he can't buy a hit. I mean, he's having all kinds of problems. And really, that was his strength, was swinging the bat. And now he's just been in a funk, been in a real funk, and Higashioka getting more of the work. But Higashioka doing a heck of a job. And you go back to Friday night, Luis Ariz had a good ball game, 3 for 5, his 4th homer. Also had an RBI single. Hanging in there. David Peralta continues to swing the bat well, 2 for 3 Friday night. Couple of runs scored, doing a really nice job. What a nice pickup. What a nice pickup. And then you go to Thursday. And Dylan Cease, I didn't think he had great stuff on Thursday night. I mean, he's throwing hard, but he didn't have great command. But he hung in there. He hung in there and saved the bullpen. Now, think about this. The Padres, they don't have a day off until September 3rd. It's really a weird thing in the schedule. They come home after their road trip to St. Louis and Tampa. They play 1 game against Detroit on a Monday. Then they have a Tuesday off. And then they pick up that series with Detroit on Wednesday, which is really weird. But they're playing 18 straight days. And they don't have a day off till September 3rd. So Dylan Cease, what he did the other night, even though he ended up taking the loss, record 12-10 with a 3.43, he hung in there. And he pitched out of a lot of trouble in the ball game. But he went 6 1/3, gave up 9 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned a walk, 7 strikeouts. Didn't have his great stuff. A lot of traffic that night. And the Mets came out and won the ball game 8-3, and they out hit the Padres 17-7. Luis Severino, the former Yankee, went out there, pitched well, 5 innings. He was kind of effectively wild. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, but he was effectively wild and got the job done, and they went to the bullpen and got the job done that night. Padres in that game on Thursday night had no extra base hits. None whatsoever. No extra base hits. We got a lot of good things to talk about, and we got to get to Yu Darvish. I had mentioned about a week ago, and there had been stories out that Yu was out working out of the high school. Yeah, he's been working out of the high school. But I gave you a little bit more information, the average bear on that, how he was throwing to college hitters, one right-handed hitter, one left-handed hitter, was doing ups and downs. He was throwing about 3 times a week. And 2 Sundays ago, he was out throwing to live hitters. Well, earlier this week, Padres reinstated him. He was on the restricted list. They reinstated him, but they put him on the IL, the injured list, and he's still on the IL. He met with the media on Friday when he came back. And on Sunday, he threw a simulated game. They actually brought players down from Lake Elsinore from the Storm to come to Petco Park early because they were playing later tonight up in Rancho Cucamonga. Those players were driving down and then going up to Cucamonga to play their game. I don't know if the players that came to San Diego are going to play on Sunday night or not, but nonetheless, they got an opportunity to come down, swing the bat at Petco Park against a great major league pitcher, a guy that's had a heck of a career in Yu Darvish. And what was interesting about this, they did ups and downs again with you. He threw 3 innings on Sunday. And they tried to make it as good a setting as possible. They had a catcher. They had no backstop, no cage like for BP. And they had no L-shaped screen. So if balls were hit back at you, he had to make a play. They also worked on pickoffs at first base, second base. They were trying to make it as live as possible. And the reports that I got were fantastic, that you really came through with flying colors. He had all of his stuff, all of his bag of tricks. He had good command and felt really good. Now we'll see how he feels tomorrow. I expect him to feel well. Now, remember early in the year, he was on the IL. He had the groin strain, and then he was working on coming back, and he threw that one minor league rehab start that didn't go well in Fort Wayne. And then they said he was having a little bit of a shoulder problem. Okay, inflammation. And then he went on the restricted list to deal with a personal family matter. But now he's been throwing a little over a month, I believe. And Sunday was, I think, a real telltale sign. He's not that far away. Now, will he have to go on a rehab assignment? Well, I'm sure you and the Padres will talk about that, but I really don't know if that's going to be the case. Maybe they'll want him to go out and, throw up at Lake Elsinore, throw a couple of innings up there, but it would not surprise me if we saw him on this road trip. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they got 7 straight days out on the road. There's no days off. There's rumors that Randy Vasquez could come up on Sunday. Mike Spilt, prior to the game, did not notify anybody. I do have the 4 pitchers that are slated to go against the Padres that we'll share with you later, but a lot of good news. A lot of good news on Yu Darvish on Sunday. So very excited about that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Joe Musgrove. Now, Joe threw one heck of a ball game on Friday night. I mentioned 7 innings, 75 pitches. That's getting the job done in a big way. Joe's made 3 starts since coming back. So far, he's 1-0 with a 0.57 ERA. He's got a softball pitcher's ERA, 0.57. He's pitched 15 2/3 innings so far, given up 6 hits, 1 run it was earned, 3 walks, 2 hit batsmen, and 16 punch-outs, and no home runs, and batters are hitting 118 against him. Couple of things that I've noticed with Joe. Number one, he's working ahead in the count a high percentage of the time, and that's what you want all pitchers to do. Get ahead with one of those first 2 pitches and make it a little bit easier on yourself. We talked about it after his last start. It looks like he's gone to the curveball more than his slider and doing a much better job of changing speeds. And I think he's also doing a much better job of directional to home plate. He's not falling off to the first base side as often. That has been kind of a tendency to where he'll drag his arm, roll that front hip up and drag that arm through, and that goes to work on your shoulder. And eventually, especially when you're throwing a slider, which he's kind of gotten away from. He's still throwing it, but not the percentage of times he did a few years ago. And I think that's really helping him. But he's doing a much better job directionally working towards home plate. And he's coming out feeling good, which was absolutely fantastic. So very, very encouraged about what we're seeing from Joe Musgrove at this point in time. Okay, I want to talk about Matt Waldron because I think Matt Waldron has really done a heck of a job for the Padres. And I know recently things have been a real struggle. But I'm not sure the Padres would be in the position they're in right now without a guy like Matt Waldron coming through. With Yu Darvish being out, with Musgrove missing a lot of time, they needed Dylan Cease. And there were times where Dylan Cease wasn't real good. Now, he's really put together a good group of starts, and, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Got that ERA down. He's got 12 wins this year. But there was a point in time where, Matt Waldron – was right in there with Michael King and Dylan Cease, not the dominating factor. And Michael King's probably been the most consistent of all the pitchers all year. He hasn't had too many bad ball games. I'd kind of put it in the order of King number one, Dylan Cease number two, and I would have to say Matt Waldron number three. But Matt Waldron now is really fallen on hard times. He was sent down Thursday after Wednesday night in that loss to Minnesota, and boy, that was ugly. I don't care if you pitched or not pitched. You sit there and watch a guy like Matt Waldron last Wednesday night against the Twins, and it's an uncomfortable feeling because you're out there, your heart's in your stomach because you're getting beat up all over the place. Matt Waldron against the Twins last Wednesday night, 4 1/3 innings, 12 hits, and 10 runs, all of them earned. But you know what? The guy went back out there and tried to get through that fifth inning, and they finally had to pull him. They finally had to go out there, and Mike Schultz, that's enough. Now, that's a team player. A lot of times guys have to go out there, maybe the starter the night before, got knocked out early, and you got to go out there and kind of suck it up and deal with it. And you don't have good stuff, and they're hitting you all over, and your numbers just go to hell. And that's kind of what happened to Matt Waldron the other night. I mean, that ERA is climbing. Last few starters really climbed. It was under 4, and it's well over 4 now. But, Waldron's last 3 starts before being sent down. And let me say this, Matt Waldron's going to be back. Let him have a little reset. Let him have a little bit of a breather. Go down there, do your conditioning, do some throwing, maybe get into a minor league game. I don't know what the Padres' plans are on that. But let him just get a little bit of a reset because somewhere along the line, Matt Waldron's coming back. He's going to help the Padres down the stretch. I have no doubt about that. Now, his last 3 starts, look at this, 14 1/3 innings. He's given up 22 earned runs. 22 earned runs in 4 1/3, 14 1/3. 4 starts in the month of August. He's 20 innings he's pitched in the month of August. 28 hits and 23 earned runs, 6 walks, 21 strikeouts, given up 5 homers. In his ERA in those 4 starts in August, 10.35. Needed a mental break. You look overall, Matt Waldron's done a really, really nice job. 26 starts, 7.11 ERA's climbed. In the month of August, he's up to 4.79, but he's thrown 142 and 2/3 innings. Still giving up less hits than innings pitched. That's something I always look at. Giving up 137 hits and 142 and 2/3. Walked 40, struck out 130, giving up 19 home runs. Give him a reset, let him get a little exhale a little bit, and get him back up here. They're going to need Matt Waldron. Matt Waldron, for me, would even figure into next year. You throw him in as a 5th starter, man. The guy's got a big heart, and you know what? He should be better next year after what he's gone through this year. But the Padres, they got to figure out, are they going to bring Vasquez back up, maybe to pitch against the Cardinals? They've got some moving pieces going on right now with the pitching because they don't have any days off till September 3rd. But Matt Waldron, he'll be back at some point. He's going to help this ball club. Okay, we had a bunch of different moves that were made, but one of the moves that was made was Mason McCoy. Now, here's a guy that's been a career minor leaguer. He got up last year with Toronto. Came up for 6 games. He got 1 at bat. 6 games, 1 at bat with Toronto. He was signed during the offseason with the Padres. Minor league contract. Goes down El Paso doing a pretty nice job. With the injury to Ha-Seong Kim, they brought up Matthew Batten, who, by the way, cleared waivers and has been outrighted to El Paso, so he'll still be with the Padre organization, but he's off the 40-man roster. That was announced on Sunday. But Mason McCoy came up, got his first hit the other night, first major league hit, scored a run, doing a very, very nice job. It was 1 for 2 with a walk on Sunday, doing a very nice job at shortstop, giving some quality at bats, short sample size, swinging the bat pretty well. Got a pretty good eye at the plate. Not a lot of bat speed. Looks like he's more of a right field hitter, right-handed batter, but doing a nice job. And we'll see if that continues to be the case, or eventually Xander Bogaerts gets some work over at shortstop. To this point, Mason McCoy doing a very, very nice job. There was another move made on Sunday, and that was a right-hander, Luke Bashar, coming up from AAA, and they optioned out right-hand pitcher Logan Gillespie to El Paso. One other note regarding a pitcher, and that's Wandy Peralta. Wandy Peralta, you recall, went on the IL on July 12th. He had a groin strain. Well, he pitched the other night for Lake Elsinore. He pitched Friday night, went 1 inning, had a strikeout through 14 pitches, and the Padres are going to decide what they're going to do with Wandy Peralta. Wandy Peralta, you recall, in the offseason, he signed a 4-year contract with the Padres. So he's going to be here for a while. So those were some of the roster moves, but a good job to this point by Mason McCoy. I really didn't know what to expect, but I think he's doing a pretty nice job. Oh, man, this series in St. Louis, historically, the Padres have not played well in St. Louis. And the Cardinals have been up and down. Goldschmidt hasn't had a great year by any stretch of the imagination. Nolan Arenado's not been great. Still, hitting right around 270, but not the power numbers, not the RBI numbers you'd expect from him. Still playing the great third base, one of the great third basemen, along with Manny, really in the history of the game defensively. Those guys are right up there with anybody in the history of the baseball. I don't think there's any question about that, even though Arenado has a lot more gold gloves than Manny. Manny can play third with anybody, I think. And it's always kind of fun when those guys match up. It's always kind of fun to see, who can outdo who. But it's going to be a big 4-game series in St. Louis. And then they got to go by and take on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay played the Dodgers extremely tough over the weekend. Extremely tough. Dodgers ended up eking out a victory 3-1 on Sunday. Mookie Betts hit an 8th-inning 2-run homer, but it was a heck of a series. So Dodgers got Tampa Bay 2 out of 3. Want to take a look a little bit at the pitching matchups in that series. And again, the Padres have not announced them. They may announce them, later on Sunday night or obviously Monday morning. But for the Cardinals, again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all those games are going to start at 4:45 local time, our local time, 4:45. And then the Thursday game at Busch Stadium will be an early morning game, 11:15. Right now, slated for the Cardinals on Monday will be right-hander Kyle Gibson, the veteran right-hander, 7-5 with a 4.22 ERA. Tuesday at Busch Stadium, 4:45. St. Louis going with right-hander Miles Michaelis, not had a good year, 8-10 with a 5.19 ERA. Remember, he came into the big leagues with the Padres and worked out of the bullpen. Then he went to Japan and really got his career going when he went over to Japan and learned how to spin that baseball. And he's had a nice career, but not a great year ERA-wise at 5.19 right now. Wednesday, an interesting matchup. A guy that doesn't throw all that hard, 25-year-old right-hander Andre Palante. He's 6-6 with a 3.84 ERA, local kid. He's from Mission Viejo area, played at San Clemente High School, actually for one of my ex-players, David Gallatley, who's been up there forever. David's done a heck of a job with that San Clemente High School baseball program, and Andre Palante, one of the players that came out of that program and then pitched at UC Irvine before being drafted by the Cardinals. Palante doing a nice job. And then the final game in St. Louis on Thursday morning, 11:15, the veteran right-hander Sonny Gray, 11-9 in a 4.07. And we know how tough Sonny Gray can be. So we'll see how the Padres are going to counter. I got to believe guys like King and Cease are going to throw in that series. There's talk that Randy Vasquez could come up and make the start on Monday. We'll have to wait and see on that. Padres doing a lot of musical chairs on that. Taking a look at some of the numbers, then we're going to take a look at the standings, and I have some updates for you regarding Aztec football. Well, I'm looking forward to that game next Saturday out at Snapdragon Stadium. Padres with the win on Sunday are 74-58. They finished the year only 2-5 against the New York Mets. They finished the homestand 4-3. They took 2 out of 3 from Minnesota earlier in the week, and they split the 4-game series with the New York Mets. Padres, as they go out on the road for 7 games, they've played some great games out on the road this year. They're 37-26. In the month of August with the win on Sunday, they're 15-7. Let's take a look at the National League West standings. And, man, I keep waiting for those Arizona Diamondbacks to slow down a little bit, but they're not slowing down. But taking a look at the West standings right now, the Dodgers have gotten really red hot. I mean, they're playing great baseball. They're 78-53. They're 25 games over 500 right now. Arizona sitting at 75-56, 3 games back of LA. The Padres with the win on Sunday, 74-58, 4.5 games back. The Giants, they get beat again by the Mariners. They're right at the 500 mark. A very frustrating year for Bob Melvin and the Giant fans. They've been all over the Giant front office all year long. They're sitting at 66-66, at 12.5 games back. Then our buddy Black and the Rockies at 48-83, 30 games back. Let's take a look at the National League wild card, because the Mets are not going to go away. And I will tell you this, Arizona, they're atop of it right now, but Arizona has got a big 3-game series opening up this week against the New York Mets. The Mets are heading over to the desert. That ought to be one heck of a series. Arizona right now leading the National League wild card at 75-56, a 4.5-game lead. The Padres still a 3-game lead at 74-58. And then you got the Braves. Man, the Braves are they're really scuffling. They're 70-60 right now. And then you got a couple of teams on their tail. You got the Mets at 68-63, 2.5 games back. The Giants, I don't know if the Giants can get anything going. They're 5 games back. And how about the Cubs? The Cubs all of a sudden are 1 game under 500. They're 65-66, 5.5 back. And I think the Reds, Pirates, and the rest of the field, they're too far back as we work our way towards the month of August. But Padres, much needed win on Sunday, and the Jackson Merrill walk-off homer. You'll take that 2-game 2-2 against the Mets without a doubt. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Aztec football, and very excited about the Aztec season, and I'll talk more about it on our next podcast about Texas A&M Commerce and what they bring to the table. But taking a look at San Diego State, they open up the 2024 season next Saturday at 5 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium. I have no idea what to expect out of this football team. I'm expecting a lot more forward passes. I'm expecting receivers to be able to get some separation. I'm expecting Danny O'Neal to do something dynamic. He was a very much heralded quarterback coming out of Indianapolis, and expect him to, he's going to go through growing pains. He's going to throw some picks. He's going to turn the ball over because he's a freshman, true freshman. But I'm very excited about it. I've already put in for my media credential and look forward to being in that press box next Saturday, August 31st at 5 o'clock for kickoff. Now, on Sunday, the Aztecs announced their captains for this year, and they were voted on by their teammates, which is really cool. The first one, senior running back Marquez Cooper, interesting because he just transferred in. But to this point, right now, starting the year, he is the all-time career rushing leader of active FBS football players, okay? Active. Okay, he's not the all-time leading rusher in college football, but right now he's the active all-time leading rusher going into the season. He's got 3,856 rushing yards. He started his career playing for Sean Lewis at Kent State, was there for a couple of years, and then played at Kent State a year ago, and then transferred out to be reunited with Sean Lewis. So Marquez Cooper going to be one of the captains. One of the other captains, I saw him last year. I was on the field with him after the ball game and met him. Tano Latuli, linebacker out of Cathedral Catholic. He played for Army. He'd been at Army for 2 years, but he was a freshman last year. He went to the Army prep school 2 years ago, played last year primarily on special teams for Army. and then transferred to San Diego State. And Tano's a good guy, a hard-working guy. He's played safety in high school. He plays linebacker, and he's a pretty dynamic guy going down and making tackles on special teams. So Tano Latuli, one of the captains for San Diego State, a local boy from Cathedral Catholic High School. And the other captain, another local boy out of Eastlake High School, junior edge rusher Trey White. Last year, Trey played a linebacker. This year, going to be one of those guys that comes off the edge and tries to get pressure on the quarterback. So congratulations to Marquez Cooper, Tano Latuli, and Trey White being voted on by their teammates for captains for the 2024 Aztec football season. As we close it out, folks, very excited about the way our Padres are playing. You know, when you're playing 162 games, there's going to be peaks and valleys. And the Padres have been so good and so consistent all year long. But, you know, they'd lost 3 out of 4. And the Jackson Merrill home run on Sunday to walk it off after Profar tied the ball game earlier with the 2-run bomb. This is much needed. And let me tell you, they're going on a tough road trip. The Cardinals are trying to stay in it. The Tampa Bay Rays, they're probably falling too far behind, but they're going to play tough. They're one of those tough American League East squads. Going to be a tough trip for the Padres. But I'll tell you, getting on that plane, eating your food, and flying to St. Louis with a win under your belt, well, I'll tell you what, it looks a whole lot better. And again, with the win, the Padres, hanging right there, number 2 wild card. And I'm telling you, we've been talking about this for weeks now on the podcast. Padres get in to the playoffs, and now it looks like they're going to get Darvish back. I mean, think about it. You got Dylan Cease, you got Michael King, you got Musgrove, you got Darvish. And if you only go with 3 starters, you got one of those guys coming out of the bullpen with what you've already got. The bullpen's nails. If you're a Padre fan, and I realize a lot of you Padre fans could be pessimistic and kind of wait for the roof to fall in. I don't know where they're going to go in the playoffs. They're going to get in the playoffs. And you know what? Once they get to the playoffs, they've got as good a chance as anybody. They really do, because they got the pitching. And they got guys that put the ball in play. I can't begin to tell you how important it is to have guys that can put the ball in play with 2 strikes. And I got to give their hitting coach, Victor Rodriguez, a hell of a lot of credit. You know, everybody talks about Ruben Niebla, and they give him credit. And Ruben deserves credit. His 3rd year here, done a great job. And really makes an impact on the pitching staff. There's no question about that. But Victor Rodriguez, who also came from the Guardians, is the Padres hitting coach. That's where Ruben came from. He'd been with the Guardians prior to that, the Indians, for 20 years, and come in and done a great job. But Victor Rodriguez, and I got to believe Ruben Niebla had to mention Victor Rodriguez to the Padres, and they bring him in. And look at the way they're swinging the bat. I mean, you got some guy. Who would have ever thought Jackson Merrill would do what he's doing, for crying out? Are you kidding me? But even some of the lesser guys that, you weren't expecting. I mean, Profar, with his home run on Sunday, he's got a new career high in home runs and RBIs, for crying out loud. I mean, it's been an amazing year for Jurickson. And I know that's going to be a question towards the end of the year, going into the offseason. What are the Padres going to do with Jurickson Profar? What kind of money are they going to offer him? I don't know. They got a lot of other guys they got to deal with. They got to figure out they want to bring Hassan Kim back. There's an option available there. That could be worked out. There's so much to talk about. But right now, let's talk about what's going on in the field, and there's a lot of good things. But they get to the playoffs with the pitching, the added bullpen guys, long as you don't have a significant injury to your everyday players. Padres got as good a chance as the Dodgers or the Braves or anybody else for that matter, because they got pitching. And when you don't have to use all your starters, you put some of those starters in the bullpen and makes your bullpen even that much better. So, Padre fan, don't be pessimistic. Be optimistic. There's a lot to be optimistic about. I've been wearing Padre gear since 1969. In fact, I wore Padre gear before 1969. And I keep waiting. I keep waiting and praying that we're going to win the World Series. We've been to a couple and come up short, but you never know. This could be the year. This could be the year. And every time I watch a Padre game and they focus in on a player and they've got that PS on their jersey, I think of my buddy Peter Seidler. He was all of our buddies. He wanted Padre baseball to win that world title and have that parade on Harbor Drive, and I'm holding out for that. But I'll tell you what, they would have lost that game on Sunday. There'd have been a lot of naysayers. There'd be a lot of naysayers. We're right there. Diamondbacks at some point have to cool off. Dodgers are pretty deep, and they've gotten a bunch of guys healthy. The Diamondbacks have as well. All three teams have been playing great baseball, as good as anybody in baseball, the three teams from the National League West. But hey, we're right there. We're right there, and this will be a big road trip. We'll join you later in the week, folks. And remember, if you're tuning in on YouTube, please subscribe to our get-together and make sure your notifications are on so you can get all of our episodes. And please follow me on Facebook. Send me messages if you want. On Facebook, on X, Coach Kentera 44. I always enjoy them. Always enjoy the comments on our YouTube page. So until next time, Coach John Kentera, again, thanks for tuning in. Love you all very much and talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.